Hello, Mike Butcher, the editor of TechCrunch Europe here, and I have with me Marc Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce.com, and Loic, the CEO and founder of Seesmic. Thank you very much for joining us, gentlemen.
Yeah.
So we would like to hear from you about the announcement that you're integrating Seesmic with Salesforce Chatter. So Marc, what was your thinking behind bringing the social web into the Chatter environment and using Seesmic?
Well, I think that the most exciting thing that's happened on the internet today is the rise of social media, social networks, the rise of mobility, the movement of cloud computing. And the power of that is that we see it in Facebook, we see it in Twitter, we see it in these great new devices like the iPhone 4, even these great new iPod Touches that got released last week, which are amazing with the integrated FaceTime. But enterprises are still mostly stuck in the past. They don't know, how do they bring the power of social into the company? How do they create their own private social networks or enterprise social networks? And that's why we've been working on Salesforce Chatter for the last year to do that for our customers. Well, when you look now at something like Seesmic, it takes Salesforce Chatter and integrates it with your Facebook feed, with your Twitter feed, or with any other feed or social media that you're using. As the potential is really terrific.
You've written on TechCrunch about a post recently about the Facebook imperative, and so this is something linked in with your thinking about what you call Cloud 2, is that right? Perhaps you could explain a little bit more about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that when you look at Cloud 2, what you see the movement to a whole new generation of computing. You know, it used to be that we used to click on our computers, now we touch. It used to be that we had to pull information, now information is being pushed at us. It used to be that our location was known because we were at our desk. Well, actually now it's becoming known again, but for different reasons. And this is a pretty big shift in computing that's happened, and in a fairly short period of time. You've seen kind of the irrelevancy today of Microsoft. They just don't play in any of these areas, which is why you see this kind of degradation of their of the interest in the market and their technologies, and yet you see the rise of Apple Computer, whose market cap recently eclipsed Microsoft. All of this is because of the change to Cloud 2. And I think Seesmic is part of that change. I think Salesforce and Salesforce Chatter are part of that change. And we have to constantly be moving the enterprise to these changes, because the enterprise is still stuck in the older software from an Oracle or an SAP or a Microsoft. They don't realize that things can be so much lower cost and so much easier to do.
And going mobile, I have Chatter on Android here.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So from enterprise, it's going to really change. You have your Chatter feed, you have your groups. So I see it really as correct me, Marc, but as the enterprise going real time. That you can follow the human resource department, you can see the salespeople, how they progress and how they are doing with the leads. And I think this is going to completely transform the way we manage a company or a group.
So specifically, let's talk about this integration, this partnership between Seesmic and Salesforce. What's going to be some really interesting real-world cases where, Loic, for instance, where you see problems or things going on the social web, which companies have to react to internally, which is obviously your strength, Marc. So how does it work?
So Chatter is amazing to connect the different groups within the enterprise, and I think what we bring is the connection to the outside world, but without making it scary for enterprise. And Salesforce is very reassuring because they are really helping very large corporations already. And so what we're doing is, for example, use case number one is monitoring your competition, monitoring what's being said about your brand, and then bringing it into the enterprise. So let's say you are at support and you're using one of the Salesforce products. Now with Chatter, you can directly send someone complaining about a product or giving feedback, something constructive, directly to the right person. That's one example I see will be big. So community managers, market research, support. But also, if you take the sales, and Marc should talk about that, but a salesperson, when he calls someone to get a lead to talk about business and try to get a contract, you need context. So you need to know what he's been doing recently, maybe an article he shared. That's an idea to start a conversation. Do you think this makes sense, Marc?
Well, I think that this is the power of what we're talking about. It's this change and transformation that has happened. Luc has this device. I have another device in my pocket. We have another device on the table, and yet through no matter what device you have, you're able to run your company. And I think for people who have built their products maybe on Microsoft, they're not going to just pick up their Android phone and start running their company, or if they've built their company on Oracle or SAP, are they picking up their iPhone and starting to run their company? But the power of cloud computing is for customers who have chosen the cloud and technologies like Salesforce.com and Seesmic or Chatter, you're running your company from your desktop phone. That's amazing. That's a huge shift.
So what would you say to slightly risk your wrath, what would you say to the people who talk about how Yammer is doing Chatter as well inside enterprise, and it's the future of its integration with inside the enterprise? Because some people say that Chatter and Yammer are quite similar, but how would you react to that?
Well, I think that we're both borrowing from this idea that social is going broad base. And what we've tried to do is deeply integrate Chatter with our core business processes, our core services. I mean, we both bow, I think, to Facebook and to Twitter. Amazing. These are great companies, great products. I mean, they've transformed the world. 500 million users on Facebook. But now we have the ability to take those metaphors and apply them directly into our enterprises. And with Chatter, of course, we're deeply integrated in our business processes, and our existing customers can turn Chatter on for no charge. That's pretty awesome. In fact, in the first month, over 20,000 Salesforce.com customers turned on Chatter.
Right. Well, you're obviously talking about the numbers of users you have, and both you, Marc, and Loic at Seesmic, obviously this is a really interesting mashing up of what has been known as the social web and the enterprise. So it's kind of like the Lennon and McCartney, as it were, of the social web and the enterprise now.
Who's who, exactly?
Yeah.
Which one is Arrington?
I'll take the fifth on that. But
okay.
But obviously here in London, you're going to have sort of 3,000 customers hearing about this new integration. I mean, how important for you guys outside of, say, the markets that we often talk about, like the US, outside, say, in Europe or Asia? I mean, what sort of impact do you think this could have, in terms of on the ground? I mean, say for instance in France, Germany, UK, your customers here, you have obviously many customers. What sort of impact will all of this have?
Mm-hmm. Well, on Wednesday, we're presenting to a few thousand of our customers here in London at the Royal Festival Hall. And our message to those customers is very simple. Move to Cloud 2. That what you're seeing today is not just a great demo or some new sexy, preview. This is real technology that can dramatically increase your productivity and your success. One of the reasons I think Salesforce.com is having such a great fiscal year is because we use our own technology. And we've used this technology to increase our productivity and make us more successful. And I think as the world changes, you need technology like this to stay on point, to stay ahead of your competition, to stay flexible, and to stay efficient. And that's what these new computing models can do for you.
I see. And Loic, you're obviously making a push into the enterprise. Is Seesmic going to become an enterprise company now, or are you going to leave the social web?
No, I think it's just that the border between your personal life and your professional life is really going away more and more, and it's kind of natural for us to go from a tool that brand managers already use Seesmic. We have a lot of community managers who already use Seesmic, and they want to have the tools they use in their enterprise also integrated. So it's kind of a natural for us, and we're very excited to do it with a leader on the market, of course. How best of a launch for us in the business and enterprise space could it be than doing it with Marc and Salesforce? But for us, it's also a revenue opportunity. Of course, we're going to present on Wednesday in front of 3,000 Salesforce customers. And there is, clearly an opportunity for a little startup like us to start, generating, let's say, one Salesforce customer wants to start rolling
That's
out.
just the beginning, by the way.
Is it?
Absolutely.
Well, I trust. What else do you have for us?
Well, I hope you're coming to Japan, and also we've got Oracle Open World in a couple weeks. We got to show them, the future with Seesmic and Salesforce.com.
Sounds like you guys are going to be on a plane quite a lot.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you very much for talking to TechCrunch, Loic, Meur, and Marc Benioff. Thank you very much. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Mike.